call me Mystic Mac because I predict these things.
Yadier Del Valle takes on Connor Matthews this Saturday at UFC Fight Night Vegas 106. And Connor Matthews kind of has his back against the wall, being on a 2-fight losing streak in the UFC right now. He got a shot on Dana White's Contender Series against Francis Marshall. Lost that fight by unanimous decision, but no shame in that. You know, Francis Marshall is very good, I think. Got a win on the regional scene, came back and got a win over Jair Farias in the Contender Series. Made his UFC debut against Dennis Bazooka that he lost by KO in the 3rd round. And then most recently a fight against Jose Delgado February 15th of this year, where he lost by brutal knockout in that one. So fought a lot of really good guys, honestly. His record's 7-3, but I think back on it and I'm like, his record is just awful. Before he came into the Contender Series, beat a guy who was 1-2, 2-1, 1-8, 0-7. He beat a guy named Jay Ellis who was 15-97 at the time that they fought, and is now 16-110. Like, who is sanctioning this guy to fight, and why would you accept that fight against this guy? But anyways, he's only really losing to really good guys. Like, Francis Marshall's really good, Dennis Bazooka, Jose Delgado. Those guys have very bright futures in the UFC. So no shame in that, but he's also taking on an absolute monster in his next fight. And if he loses this fight, he's probably going to get cut from the UFC. So Connor Matthews fights out of the New England cartel with the likes of like Rob Font, Calvin Cater. Those guys are really good, but it just seems like outside of those two, they don't really have a lot of talent in that gym. He's a switch stance fighter, very smooth transitions and footwork, straight punches, technical, diligent forward pressure. Likes to push guys against the cage, land combos. Really good calf kicker, honestly. Good body kicks, good teep kicks. Tough for the most part, but we really only know that because he gets hit a lot. He obviously has been hurt and KO'd in a lot of his fights. He was getting kind of touched up by Francis Marshall, but was still able to grit through it. And I feel like he's a gritty dude, and you know he's a scrapper, but his chin gives out on him. Like, his chin gives out on him before his heart and his will to fight does, unfortunately. And at times he kind of hesitates in the pocket if he gets somebody pressed against the cage. Or he's in the middle of an exchange or combinations. He's kind of has a moment of hesitation before throwing, and I feel like that causes him to kind of be able to get countered and tagged, and that's just not. He just doesn't have the chin or I think the physicality or the toughness to beat somebody like Yadier Del Valle, who I think gets this one done. Del Valle is just an absolute animal. 28 years old. He's going to be 4 years younger than Connor Matthews. They're going to be about the same height. Matthews is 5'8", Del Valle is 5'9". Del Valle's going to have a 2-inch reach disadvantage, but dude's just an absolute savage. Judo brown belt, BJJ black belt, good wrestling, really good guillotine. He had that against Antonio Montero in his Contender Series fight, and Montero was saved by the bell in round 1. Just had a really good performance against that guy. Del Valle's huge for the division, just muscled up, super strong, southpaw striker with really hard leg kicks, just very powerful strikes. The dude just brings it. And he had really good clinch work against Montero. He was just very strong in the clinch, wouldn't let him go, just had him kind of pinned against the fence in the first round before he got the guillotine. And in the second round, he was just landing nasty combos and elbows and knees to the body of Montero, and was just eating the shots that Montero was throwing back. Dude's got an iron chin, just had really good constant forward pressure and landing unanswered shots on Montero, who's very good. He's like 17-4, fights out of Nova União with Jose Aldo and those guys. So very high level opponent. I think he was on like a 5 or 6 fight winning streak heading into this fight. And Del Valle just looked like an absolute stud at only 28 years old, 8-0. Doesn't have tons of experience, but I feel like he's got the skill set to be an absolute problem in his division once he gets into the UFC. So I think he gets this one done. I think he's just going to be more physically strong. I don't worry about his chin. He was eating Montero shots for breakfast and firing back. I do worry about Connor Matthews' chin. I feel like if Connor Matthews lands on Yadier, he's just going to smile and throw back. And if Yadier lands on Matthews, he's going to be hurting. And I think Yadier is just better everywhere. I think he's the better grappler. I think he's the bigger, stronger athlete. I think he's got more power on the feet. a little bit more technical striking, really good leg kicks. And he's not just a one-trick pony on the feet. You know, he kicks all levels, rips to the body very well, throws elbows, knees, just does everything very well. I don't see really any. If I had one critique of the guy, it was that he kind of started to slow down in round 3 against Montero. But you know, the first round and 1 and 2, he was, you know, full force trying to get this guy out of there. Especially in the second round, was throwing everything but the kitchen sink at this guy to get him out of there. And kudos to Montero. I think he's got a lot of potential too, but Yadier was just too much for him. And in the third round, was still able to get got a takedown, was caught in a guillotine, but got out, and then landed some good ground and pound. Wasn't just, you know, looking to stall out the fight for a decision. He was looking to do damage on the ground. So Yadier's just gonna have more momentum, 8-0, more finishing potential everywhere. And I just think he's hungrier. He's a Cuban immigrant, got that immigrant mentality, has a really cool backstory, that he like works in a food truck with his wife and their kids, and then trains outside of that, but like waking up early, doing the food truck thing, training late at night. Like, the dude's got a lot to fight for. He's got a really good story. I think he gets Connor Matthews out of there inside the distance. Thanks.